So, welcome back to SEHH Live, where during the week in this TV studio we are trying to bring the people and listen to the ideas at the center of fine watchmaking. This session is going to feature one of the brands of the Carré des Horlogers, Mb&F. It's a small house with a big vision. It was founded about 12 years ago. It produces only 300 watches per year. It considers itself a sort of creative lab in fine watchmaking. This exploration, the work they do as a creative lab, is the topic of this session, because alongside the main business, Mb&F also runs a series of art galleries, of course devoted to mechanical art. We are going to have a presentation about that and then a discussion with their Chief Communication Officer, Haris Yadigaroglu. Haris, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Congratulations on pronouncing the name properly. I know it's not an easy task. We're at SIHH, and I'm guessing that you may have seen way too many watches already. And that's why, indeed, the idea here was to talk about something else. To talk about the M.A.D.Gallery, which is our retail concept, halfway between a boutique, watch boutique, a M.A.D.Gallery. I'll explain that in a second. But first of all, you may have noticed that we've titled this conference From Clueless to Crucial. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, let's start with clueless. When we launched this M.A.D.Gallery about 6 years ago, we were indeed clueless. We had no idea, I'm being very honest here, we had no idea what we were doing. No one in the team, from the founder of the company, Max Büsser, all the way down the ranks, no one had any idea, any experience of retail. Of course, we dealt with retailers. We have around 30 retailers around the world, but no one had run a retail operation within the company. And we were presented with a nice opportunity. It was a few days before a major trade fair. We had 3-4 days to sign the lease, and we decided to go ahead. But we were clueless. We really had no idea. So we went back to some of the fundamentals, if you like, behind the brand. And I'm not going to present the brand in detail here. This is not a brand presentation. But you do need to understand a few things about Mb&F to know where we were going and how this M.A.D.Gallery concept came about. One thing we did know is that we did not want to create just another watch boutique. There are lots of watch boutiques in Geneva already. And to create just another one, that's not the Mb&F way. So that was a given. We also thought about how we create our timepieces. And if you know a little bit about Mb&F, you'll know that we approach watchmaking as a form of mechanical art. To us, it's definitely not about giving time. It's not about creating instruments to measure time. That's not the point. It's about creating mechanical arts. And if you see pieces like the HM6 Space Pirates, I guess it becomes a little bit more obvious. Yes, this piece gives you time, but that's definitely not the point. It's about creating mechanical arts. And even with some of our more classic pieces, like the Legacy Machine Perpetual, it's still art. Mechanical watchmaking in general is art. But definitely, in our case, that's the way we approach watchmaking. That was one thing, art. The second thing is the friends. The name of the company, Mb&F, for those of you who may not know, is Max Büsser and Friends. Max is the founder of the company. The friends are the people who surround the company, who help us make our timepieces. And this has been an absolutely essential element of the brand from the very beginning. It's in the name, as I just told you. These are the friends. If you go to our website, for example, you'll see for each of our machines, each of our timepieces, the extensive list of everyone who has contributed, not just the employees, but also the people outside of the company, the suppliers, the photographers, the artisans, the designers, the creators, in full transparency. That's an essential element of the brand. So if you put those two elements together, art and friends, then maybe the M.A.D.Gallery starts to make sense. This is our M.A.D.Gallery in Geneva. M.A.D.Gallery, M.A.D. stands for crazy, a little bit like us. We are a little crazy, but it also stands for mechanical art devices. And that's what you find inside the M.A.D.Gallery. It's mechanical art. Of course, you'll find our timepieces in those displays, but really the majority of the space of this gallery is dedicated to other forms of mechanical art. Whether it's a motorcycle, whether it's a lamp, whether it's photography with a mechanical theme, it's all different forms of mechanical arts. And to explain the concept, let me give you just a few examples of some of the artists and their creations we present in the gallery. This motorcycle was created by Shikara Nagata, one of the very best examples of the creators we have in the gallery. Shikara is an exceptional human being. He has dedicated his life and sacrificed many things in his life to create motorcycles, like this one, which we had in the gallery. When we met him, he had spent, this was 6 years ago now, he had spent the last 15 years of his life creating 5 motorcycles. That's on average 3 years to create a single bike. It's crazy. Of course these are motorcycles. Here's another example. But that's not the point. This is mechanical art. It's a mechanical sculpture in all its beauty. Frank Buchwald, another artist from Berlin. Frank Buchwald had a previous life as a science fiction book illustrator, old school, airbrush. And he lost his job when the whole illustration industry moved to computers. So a bit by chance, he sketched in his spare time, he was unemployed, a lamp, which was definitely very inspired by his science fiction past, but also very mechanical in nature. He calls these lights, these lamps, machine lights. When we discovered him, he was making a few lamps a year. We told him, we want these in the gallery. They fit in perfectly. And they've become one of the big hits, if you like, of the gallery. In the meantime, we've even made a clock together with him, a Nixie clock. Fantastic creator and fantastic creations. Gabi Wormann, wonderful young lady, also from Germany, by the way. She creates what she calls mechanical creatures. They're a mix of real insects, rare insects, which she sources from around the world, and she turns them into bionic creatures by integrating, as you can see, mechanics, like a surgeon, like a microsurgeon. Most of those components, by the way, are watchmaking components. These are beautiful in real life. They're big insects. They're wonderfully finished. All unique pieces, of course. Sever Demirtas from Turkey. Sever has a long and very interesting life. I don't have time to explain it here, but he's now making beautiful androids or automatons. They are so refined when you see them in real life. They move like human beings. They practically have emotions when you look at them like human beings. We've had a few of these at the gallery quite recently. From Switzerland, Fabian Öffner. He's a photographer. And he did one of the most striking series of photos we had in the M.A.D.Gallery called Disintegrating. This is not computer graphics. You might think so. It's actually hundreds of photographies, hundreds of photos. He takes scale models, disassembles them, so hundreds of parts, and then photographs each of those little components individually, in different angles, with different lighting, and then reassembles those hundreds, sometimes thousands of photos into the illusion of a disintegrating car. Months of work to create a single visual. And last but not least, Florian Schlumpf, who looks like a watchmaker, but he's not. He also has an amazing life. Among many other things, he invented a gearbox for unicycles. You know, those bicycles with one wheel, a gearbox. Incredible inventor. He now creates these. Their clocks, theoretically, they do give the time and the day of the week and so on, but that's not the point, once again. It's really a mechanical sculpture, and that's what we love about Florian Schlumpf. So I guess you understand what I'm getting at here by seeing all these artists, these creators. That's the type of artist and creation we like to showcase at the M.A.D.Gallery. Now, the title of the conference was From Clueless to Crucial. Why has this become so crucial to us? One of the reasons is that it actually helps us very much for our core business, for our watchmaking business, because when you see one of our HM6-based pirates in the context of the M.A.D.Gallery, it starts perhaps to become a bit clearer. If you understand that Shikara Nagata, the motorcycle maker I showed you before, is making motorcycles, and yes, they're real motorcycles, but that's not the point. It's not to go from point A to B. It's to create a mechanical sculpture. If you understand that Florian Schlumpf is, yes, making clocks, but that's not the point. It's about making mechanical art, then perhaps you start to understand that our HM6-based pirate, yeah, it's a watch, it gives you time, but that's not the point either. It's really about creating this mechanical sculpture for your wrists. So it really does help us to present our creations, which are a bit unusual and a bit unconventional and can get the weird look from a collector. It helps to present them in the context of these M.A.D. galleries, very much. The M.A.D. galleries have become an increasingly important part of the representation, if you like, of our small company around the world. This is Taipei, so after Geneva, a few years later, 2 years later about, we opened in Taipei. It was a strong market for us already, but it's really reinforced the understanding and the presence of the brand in Taipei as well. We operate with a local partner there, our long-standing retail partner, Swiss Prestige. That's Taipei. And more recently, we opened in Dubai as well, 2 years ago, beginning of 2016. Again, with a local partner, the Siddiqui family, who have been our retailers for a long time. This shows you the inside of the M.A.D. gallery in Dubai. As you can see, the pieces from Shikara Nagata, for example, rotate between these different galleries. One last thing about why this has become so crucial for Mb&F, the M.A.D. gallery. This is another creator we presented, Xiahang from China. And as you can see, he makes these rather strange mechanical contraptions populated by what he calls comma men, these little aliens. He calls them comma men because they have a head shaped like a comma. So we had these pieces, and of course met Xiahang several times in the M.A.D. gallery, and this inspired us to actually integrate some of his art, some of his world, into one of our own timepieces. This is the Legacy Machine 1 Xiahang. And as you can see, there's a little contraption there at 6 o'clock. That's one of his little comma men, who became the power reserve indicator of the piece. So when the energy of the watch is down, of course, the comma man slumps down as if he was tired, and when you wind the watch, you fill him with energy and he rises again. This would never have happened if the M.A.D. gallery had never existed. So some very direct impact on our own creativity. It's an extremely, how can I say, inspiring platform, the M.A.D. gallery, for us, which helps us to create our pieces. More generally, some of the co-creations, as we call them, this is a music box, would never have appeared, never have been born. This is a collaboration with Rouge, who make music boxes in Sainte-Croix, small village in Switzerland. We had one of their music boxes, one of their classic music boxes in the gallery for a long time, before going to them to suggest an evolution of the classic music box. Became a series. This is the third one. And that led to more co-creations, like the clocks we create with L'Épée, another wonderful manufacturer in Switzerland, specialized in table clocks. This is the Octopod. And these pieces obviously find their place very, very naturally, very organically in these M.A.D. galleries. It's all about mechanical arts. So I hope that explains a bit. I promised I would keep this presentation to about 15 minutes, and I see that's where we stand. We'll have a little discussion with Bruno and possibly a few questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
By the way, Bruno, sorry, just before I finish, the M.A.D.Gallery is in Geneva. If you have a moment while you're here, go to 11 Rue Verden, and there's also a website which will tell you more.
Thank you. Maybe let's take a seat and let's see if anyone who joined us here in the studio has a question. So if you do, just raise your hand. But Harris, one of the things that strikes me is, the question that came to my mind as you were going through the different galleries is, are these galleries for exhibiting or for selling? I mean, does it work commercially?
It does. Cherry on the cake. In the beginning, to be totally honest, we were clueless, remember? We had no idea. So we filled our own gallery in Geneva with pieces we loved, like the motorcycles I showed you and so on, thinking that it would at least create this context, but not expecting to sell them. And then something happened. The first person came in and actually wanted to buy something. We were so clueless, we didn't know how to take payment from a credit card, seriously. In the meantime, of course, we've equipped ourselves, and now we've sold thousands of these art pieces. Mm-hmm. Some quite accessible, a few hundred francs, some very expensive, like the motorcycles I showed you before, a few 100,000. But yes, they're definitely for sale.
When you say, the motorcycles rotate among the galleries, he has made 5 in 15 years, probably a couple more since.
1 or 2, yep.
But you have 2 or 3 in the gallery, you've already sold 1. So basically you are, the representative of this artist, or this sculpture. Who is a typical client of a M.A.D.Gallery?
Good question. Very interesting, because in the beginning, quite naturally, of course, it derived from our watchmaking base. So typically, we would enter the motorcycle, to take that example, and we would present this to our collectors, and the first pieces are typically sold to our watchmaking clients. But then something else happened. People starting entering our little world from the M.A.D.Gallery itself. Some people have been loyal customers of the gallery for the art pieces and have never bought a single watch, and that's perfectly all right with us. Some people have gone from watches to the art. Some people have gone from the art to the watches. We have very good examples of people who had never really understood what our watchmaking was about, but then started to get engaged thanks to the other art forms and have ended up becoming collectors of our watches as well. So it goes both ways.
So Max Büsser has always talked about Mb&F as an horological lab, and the pieces are horological machines. So this notion of mechanical art has always been present.
Yes.
Now, what do the galleries add to the positioning of the brand?
It opens it up. It opens it up because it makes clear, we've always called our watches machines, as you know, horological machines, legacy machines. It makes it even clearer, because when you expand beyond just wristwatches and go into clocks and music boxes and motorcycles and lamps and so on, you understand that the brand is about mechanics and machines in general, and that can be applied to wristwatches or anything else.
I'm curious about one aspect of what you do, because you run communication for Mb&F, and I know that Mb&F almost doesn't do advertising. Yesterday, Mr. Bernameas here from Audemars Piguet said, I think in the future we could possibly do without advertising, and you're one of the brands who do without. You count on PR and on word of mouth. So how do you make your signal visible in all the noise that's out there?
Another good question. It's hard work. You mentioned some of them. Public press relations is very important, because of course that's a way to spread the word. Word of mouth, never underestimate the power of word of mouth. We pride ourselves in always treating any person, whether he's a journalist or she's a journalist or a potential client or whatever, even though it may not be someone important, that person will carry the word further. The word of mouth is extremely powerful, especially in today's digital world, of course, because the power of sharing on social media and so on is immense. We would not exist as a company without digital today. That really got the word across. So we spend a lot of time on that, a lot of time on meeting people, and the M.A.D.Galleries provide a physical space to do that in optimal terms.
What's the plan for the next M.A.D.Gallery? Can you already say something?
There are a A few plans. Too early, honestly, to give you any inside details on that, but there have been plans for the US, there have been plans for the Far East, which is a very strong market for us,
yeah.
Singapore and so on. We'll see. It's too early to say, and we're not in a rush, meaning we want to find the right people who believe in the concept and who just are not just interested in making a quick dollar. We want to find the right location, of course, and so on. So we'll see. We think there's potential for maybe 6, 7 M.A.D. galleries around the world eventually.
Haris, thank you for coming to SHH Live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We just announced the next session. If I can see, yeah, the camera is here. The next session is at 12:30, and we're going to host Craig Robbins, the founder of the Design District in Miami, and Fabian Lupo, the president of the foundation that organizes SEHH. We're going to talk about a new project that the two organizations are preparing together for next month in Miami. See you at 12:30. Thank you, and thanks to those who have joined us in the studio. Goodbye.